3i Atlas is still showing signs of non-gravitational acceleration. It changed colors again, just turned green. The anti-tail is massive, and it's just a few days away from Earth. So buckle up, buttercups. Let's go. I'm Rex Bear, Leak Project. How the heck are you? If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to hit the bell for all notifications. Check back daily for new content. We're also on Rumble. Subscribe to us on Rumble and Patreon. Check us out on Patreon for exclusive content. I just did an awesome interview yesterday with Dr. Adam Rizvi. He is a critical care doctor, and he has dozens, actually, I think over 100 experiences with people before they transition. And he details his theory and ideas about the afterlife and consciousness being more than just our physical body. It's a great interview. You should definitely listen to it. It's on Patreon. And we have a lot to talk about today. So 3i Atlas is not getting any more normal. Like, it's just getting weirder, but that's to be expected, right? And I'm also questioning if it's just a comet, if there's no threat to Earth, and let's hope, let's definitely hope there's no threat to Earth, but why has the United Nations activated the International Asteroid Warning Network? And why is the European Union monitoring this comet with such precision and timing, yet what they're sharing with us publicly is minimal? We still haven't got anything but fuzzy wuzzy images from NASA. That's what they called it. Look at those fuzzy lines. You see that? Yeah, that's what we call asteroid. That wasn't exactly what they said, but it was a total letdown with their 3i Atlas press conference. I mean, they get $23 billion a year. You'd think they could do something a little bit better than that. But anyway, I've got a $600 telescope. Well, the telescope I have is actually more than that. But I saw images from a $600 telescope that were better than what NASA is sharing with us. So today, we're going to look at the latest information. We're going to look at several papers, not only from Professor Loeb. We're going to talk about Greg Allison. He is a rocket scientist, aerospace engineer, as well as another aerospace engineer. These guys are super bright and intelligent, especially when it comes to space and astrophysics, etc. So I would say you definitely want to watch this podcast in full, and let's get into it. Also, real quick, get yours. Gladiator Barley, Boomer Boost. This stuff is awesome. If you go to boomerboost.com, use the code LEAK20 or REX20, actually. Use the code REX20. You'll get 20% off your order. Plus, you can set it up for auto ship. You'll get an extra 10% off. Stack the discounts. You can always stop the auto pay or the auto renewal. Most people don't. I've been taking the Gladiator Barley now and the Boomer Boost for over 5 years, and I think this stuff is awesome. This is my go-to supplement. But anyway, let's get into this. So I've got papers to share with you. A lot of information, actually. Several articles from IFL Science, Futurama, Medium. Here we go. And how's your day going? I hope you're having a fantastic day today, and I thank you very much for being here with me. Comet 3i Atlas is experiencing a non-gravitational acceleration. What does that mean? IFL Science, we're going to talk about it. Also, this is from Futurism. 3i Atlas still showing strange protrusion as it approaches Earth. It is a real physical jet with a glow extending from 3i Atlas towards the sun. I think we're 3 days away now. What's today, the 16th? Yep, we're 3 days away now from it reaching its closest point to Earth. This is from Live Science Plus. New NASA ESA images show 3i Atlas getting active ahead of its close encounter with Earth. NASA and ESA both shared new images, fuzzy images, that they call high resolution, of the interstellar comet 3i Atlas this week, as the agencies gear up for the mysterious object's closest approach to Earth, December 19th. This is from the XMM Newton, showing 3i Atlas in X-ray light. The European Space Agency X-ray Space Observatory, XMM Newton, observed interstellar comet 3i Atlas December 3rd for around 20 hours. During that time, the comet was about 282 million kilometers from the spacecraft. Now, this technology is the European photon imaging camera, which is the most sensitive X-ray camera available with the ESA. The image shows the comet glowing in low energy X-rays. Blue marks empty space with very few X-rays, while red highlights the comet's X-ray glow. Astronomers expected to see this glow because when gas molecules streaming from the comet collide with the solar wind, they produce X-rays. These X-rays can come from the interaction of the solar wind with gases like water vapor, carbon dioxide, or carbon monoxide, which telescopes such as the NASA ESA, CSA, James Webb Space Telescope, and NASA's Sphere-X have already detected. But they are uniquely sensitive to gases like hydrogen and nitrogen. These are almost invisible to optical and ultraviolet instruments, such as the cameras on the NASA ESA Hubble Space Telescope and ESA's JUICE. Don't you love that name? This makes X-ray observations a powerful tool. They allow scientists to detect and study gases that other instruments can't easily spot. Several groups of scientists think that they first detected interstellar object, the first interstellar object, Oumuamua, which was found in 2017, which may have been made of exotic ice like nitrogen or hydrogen. Oumuamua was too far away, but now 3i Atlas presents a new opportunity, they say, to study an interstellar object, and observations in X-ray light will complement other observations to help scientists figure out what the hell is going on. So one thing I wanted to talk to you about is, if you missed the recent podcast I did on 3i Atlas, there's this spacecraft from NASA called MAVEN. It was launched in 2012. It's been orbiting Mars since 2014. It had a recent flyby where it observed 3i Atlas. It sent some data back to NASA. And then shortly after that, the MAVEN spacecraft goes silent. So now that spacecraft, after it images 3i Atlas, basically disappears. What's going on with that? What's up with the International Asteroid Warning Network being activated if there's nothing of concern? Oh, well, they just want to study that object, but they don't want to show you what they're studying except for fuzzy images. There's way too many anomalies and way too much not being shared with us to make me think that this is a traditional comet. To add to that mystery, okay, so do you ever have synchronicities that just blow you away? Like those moments that you go, wait a second, there's something else going on beyond my control, beyond my vision, well above and beyond what we look at as or perceive as reality, like those aha moments. I've been having these aha moments, much of my life, but especially since Leak Project. And sometimes it's more intense than others. And I want to give you an example because I think this is really important. And I think that it's connected to 3i Atlas somehow, whether it's my higher self showing me these signs to take me in a certain direction, some type of energy or entity or consciousness above my control. Very interesting. So let's go back to, real quick, 2020. 2020, Greg Allison, rocket scientist, personal friend of mine, he calls me up and he says, Rex, I got invited to do a TV shoot for the Weather Channel. I want you to be involved in this. And I was like, awesome, absolutely, sign me up. So I drive down to California. We do the TV shoot. If you want to watch the episodes of Weird Earth, it's season 1, the first season of Weird Earth on the Weather Channel. And so yesterday, I'm flipping through the channels and I flip through the Weather Channel and boom, there it is, season 1, Weird Earth. And I hit pause real quick on my remote and Greg Allison shows up in the image. There's Greg, season 1, Greg's there. I'm like, oh, that's pretty dang cool. So I text Greg. I'm like, hey, Greg, look, here's your photo. You're on the Weather Channel again. Greg hasn't even seen himself on the Weather Channel yet. I mean, that's how much of a homesteader and how busy this guy is. He does a TV shoot for Weather Channel. It's been on Weather Channel since 2020, and he still hasn't seen a full episode of him on Weird Earth. But anyway, I sent it to him. That was pretty cool. So why am I bringing this up? Well, when I was with Greg in California, we had events that first we went and checked out. Well, second, we checked out the location where Jack Parsons did a ritual that allegedly opened up a portal to another dimension at nighttime. That was very eerie. But we also walked through a tunnel that was featured in a few films. One of those films was Back to the Future 2. As we were walking through this tunnel, we're the only ones in the tunnel. It's pitch dark. And I'm going, Hugh, Hugh. And Greg's wondering why I'm singing Hugh. Hugh is a very powerful sound. It's the sound of God. It's the sound of manifestation. Human manifest. So, and Greg's like, why is he doing that? And so Greg goes, halo. And folks, we tried to debunk this and we haven't been able to yet. Like, what happened as soon as he goes halo, you can see this light orb shoot out of his mouth and travel down the tunnel, and no other cars, no other light. As soon as he did that, this light beam shoots out of his mouth, and you can watch the video on his channel. I have a better video of it. I'll re-upload it. So anyway, that was really cool, right? We get back after walking through the tunnel that was featured in Back to the Future 2. I had no idea we were going to do that. We get back to filming, and I gave him a hat from tinfoilcap.co. This hat is the McFly edition, and we've nicknamed it Back to the Future because it's the McFly edition tinfoil hat. So I gave him a hat. I said, hey, here's your hat, man. Do you like it? And he's like, wait a second, Back to the Future? We just walked in the tunnel walked under the tunnel of Back to the Future. What's going on with the synchronicity? Very interesting, right? So stay with me. I hope you're staying with me. So now let's fast forward 5 years to yesterday, and 5.5 years, a little bit over, almost 6 years now. But yesterday, I'm watching the Weather Channel. Boom, there's Greg on the Weather Channel. I send him the link. And then later on that evening, I'm like, you know what? I haven't seen it in the past couple years. I used to watch, I watched almost all the episodes of the first season of Star Trek. And it's the newest series of Star Trek. It's got one of my favorite actors in it. It's the guy that played in Hell on Wheels. He's Captain Pike. And to make a long story short, for some reason, I take 2 years off watching this TV series, and I decided to watch it again last night after I saw Greg on the Weather Channel. So Greg and I have done podcasts previously on 3i Atlas, and with his knowledge of 3i Atlas, what he knows about 3i Atlas and what he knows about aerospace and asteroids and space travel, he has a theory that 3i Atlas is actually a retrofitted comet. Inside of the comet has some type of highly advanced civilization that is actually maneuvering this comet. It sounds like a really bold claim, obviously, and he's not saying he's 100% sure, but he's pretty sure, like where his mind is. He's more than 50% in his mind that this is some type of advanced technology maneuvering this comet. And he talked about how, you know, if you're an advanced civilization, if you were in the asteroid belt or the Kuiper belt, you could retrofit asteroids and comets, and you could use technology inside of it to build yourself a habitat, a safe habitat, while the comet itself would be protecting you from mass amounts of radiation and exposure to the radiation from solar and other stars and solar wind, etc. And I thought, oh, that's a very interesting theory, Greg. That's what we had talked about on previous podcasts that we had done. So stay with me now in this synchronistic moment here. Then back to episode 10. So somehow I skipped an episode because I was on season 1, episode 8, but I ended up watching episode 10 last night, season 1, Star Trek, Brave New Worlds. Captain Pike is the captain. But in this episode, this is where it gets really interesting. In this episode, it has time travel, hence Back to the Future 2020, Back to the Future hat, walking in the tunnel, Back to the Future. And it also has asteroids that are being retrofitted and comets that are being spaceships. So not only comets are in this episode, but asteroids that are being retrofitted for technology. So what are the odds that years later I decide to watch Star Trek again, and the episode that I watch is asteroids being retrofitted, time travel, and comets? after I see Greg on the Weather Channel from 2020. That's pretty cool, right? That is very synchronistic. Now, that doesn't mean that 3i Atlas is a spacecraft. It doesn't mean that there's an alien civilization that has retrofitted 3i Atlas, some breakaway civilization. But it's pretty freaking wild. I mean, talk about synchronicity, right? So anyway, I just had to share that with you because it just totally blew me away. But now let's get into some of these papers. So that was my synchronistic moment yesterday. And Greg Allison, let me tell you a little bit about Greg if you haven't heard of Greg before. I've got his, wait, where did it go? Yeah, so this was the episode right here. Episode 10. While the Enterprise and the USS Cayuga provide supplies to an outpost near the Romulan neutral zone, Pike meets one of the future cadets for whom he will sacrifice himself. He decides to send warnings to them to prevent the accident from happening. Pike is then visited by an older version of himself from the future where the accident doesn't happen. He reveals the consequences of his decision 7 years in the future. The Enterprise sees a Romulan bird of prey starship destroy the outpost. They track it with the USS Farragut, commanded by Captain James T. Kirk, who suggests an aggressive approach. Pike insists on negotiating, and the Romulan commander agrees to a ceasefire, but his subcommander disagrees and summons an armada of Romulan warships. And basically what happens is, because he changed time, because he knew about the future and he changed the timeline, in this episode, it caused a cosmic Armageddon. So I hope Greg and I aren't involved in some type of like cosmic Armageddon, but that was a very, very interesting episode when I saw the retrofitted asteroids. It was pretty cool. Here is somebody else that I would love to interview, and his name is Dr. John Brandenburg. He's a plasma physicist, fusion energy, advanced space propulsion expert. He's also an author, and he thinks that 3i Atlas is absolutely a spacecraft. So it's not just Professor Loeb. But let's go to Professor Loeb's latest paper, The Anti-Tell of 3i Atlas, Wobbled Before Perihelion. This is really interesting. So these are images you can see up here of the interstellar object 3i Atlas. The thin purple lines indicate the position angle of the detected anti-tell jet at a projected distance of 6,000 kilometers from the brightness peak, which is the dotted red circle. For each frame, the observation date and the start and end times in UTC are shown above the panels, along with the total number of sidereal tracking exposures and the cumulative integration time. The projected velocity vector, which is the red arrow, and the anti-solar direction, the yellow arrow, are marked, as well as the image scale and orientation. The graded orange lines denote the projected rotational axis direction derived from mean value of the anti-tell position angles. While yellow lines trace the tell direction, brightness contours are overplotted using 10 logarithmically spaced levels between the 20th and 95th percentiles of pixel intensity in each frame. The anti-tell refers to the narrow linear black feature extending roughly northwest in the direction of the sun. So what does that mean? Also, make sure you subscribe to Professor Loeb's Medium page so you'll get access via email when he does a new paper. And he's been writing papers pretty much every single day. But this new paper reports the detection of a periodic wobble in the anti-tell jet of the interstellar object 3i Atlas, with a period of 7.74 hours during July and August. The wobble is the result of the anti-tell base from where the jet is launched out of the nucleus, being offset from the poles associated with the rotation axis of the nucleus. As a result of this offset, the jet axis exhibits precision along a cone surrounding the rotation axis, just like the rotating light beam of a lighthouse or a pulsar. Remember, its rotation is 16 hours, 16 minutes. Read Revelation 16:16. If you read, oh my gosh, I just had another synchronistic moment here. If you read Revelation 16:16, let's pull this up right now. This will blow your mind. Revelation 16:16 describes the gathering of world rulers and their armies to a place called Armageddon, a Hebrew term meaning mountain of Megiddo, for a final battle occurring with demonic spirits. preceding the outpouring of the final bowl of God's wrath and the ultimate earthquake, signaling the climax of God's judgment against evil. The Revelation 16:16 goes like this. Then they gathered the kings together to the place that in Hebrew is called Armageddon. Interesting. Well, that's what happened in Star Trek episode 10. Wild. That is so wild. Okay, go back here. The images that we were just looking at show a faint high-latitude anti-tail of 3I Atlas, which maintains an almost, not perfect, constant position angle. Accurate measurements of the position angle of the jet at a projected distance of 6,000 kilometers from the brightness peak reveal a periodic modulation consistent with a high-latitude jet undergoing precision around the rotation axis of the nucleus. This is the first periodic jet angle modulation detected in an interstellar object. Also, the derived periodicity of 7.74 hours may imply a nucleus rotation period of 15.48 hours if the anti-tail originates from a single active spot near one of the poles associated with the rotation axis. Wow. Then, the anti-tail is larger than the distance to the moon. Check this out. This is Comet 3I Atlas with a 60 times 60 second exposure. Here's the telescope details you can see right here. Here's the location and Scarmato's Astronomical Observatory, San Constantino in Italy. Let's take a look at this right here. The top panel shows an image of 3I Atlas taken December 15th on a 0.25 meter telescope in Italy. The bottom panel indicates the brightness map from a Larsen-Secanini rotational gradient filter on a fraction of the entire field of view, spanning 0.86 by 0.39 million kilometers and featuring an anti-tail going out to 500,000 kilometers from 3I Atlas in the sunward direction towards the lower left. Image credit, Tony Scarmato. Check that out. Isn't that wild? So cool. Let's read about this a little bit more. I'm already a member. I'm a member of the WEF. Whoa, ha, 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 ha. That's all you need to know. I'm joking. I'm not a member of the WEF. If I was, I probably wouldn't be in a basement next to the garage with a green screen behind me. I'd probably have a little bit more money. I just said that because I read a comment the other day where somebody said, Rex Avilob is part of the WEF and he's a regular contributor there. And I'm like, oh, okay. I looked into it. He is a contributor. He does contribute articles and information to the WEF, but he's not on the official board. And that's for a whole other podcast, folks. That's for a whole other podcast. And we can talk about it on our Patreon page if you want to. But the latest images from December 14th and 15th show a prominent anti-tail that extends 500,000 kilometers away from the nucleus of 3I Atlas towards the sun. This length is larger than the average distance to the moon. An anti-tail of this size has never been observed before for a comet. To reach a scale of 500,000 kilometers over the past 45 days after perihelion, the sunward speed of the material in the anti-tail must be at least 130 meters per second relative to the nucleus of 3I Atlas. Whether this speed can be maintained by sublimated dust or gas from pockets of ice facing the solar wind and solar radiation, pressure remains to be studied. The alternative is a jet from a technological thruster. Look at that. And that's interesting because when it changed color, when it turned green as it was making its pass around the sun, like if you study electric universe cosmology and if you study how metal changes colors as it gets hotter, well, like, okay, yeah, well, maybe it's just a metallic object traveling through space. You know, it's this nickel alloy that we actually have to go through a specific process to formulate that alloy here on Earth. It is an industrial process. And once we do that process to create that alloy is then used on spacecraft to solidify it from radiation and other space debris. So the same stuff, the same alloy that we make industrially is floating through space or traveling through space at 130,000 miles an hour with very bizarre characteristics of a comet. Now, since it's interstellar, we can look at a plethora of other ideas versus it just being a spacecraft or alien technology that could also make sense. So I'm not convinced it's an alien spacecraft, but I'll tell you what, the more research I do and the more I talk to people like Greg, and then when I have these synchronistic moments, the more I start to question, well, hell, maybe it is some type of alien spacecraft. Because here's the thing, it's not what we do know, it's what we don't know. Why is NASA, the ESA, the Chinese Space Agency, the Japanese Space Agency, why are they not showing us higher imaging data sets on these objects? And why have they activated the International Asteroid Warning Network? I don't think they just did that because they're like, well, there's a lot of interest in this object. So what we're going to do is we're going to show people fuzzy images and we're going to activate the International Asteroid Warning Network because we want to keep people in the dark. But unless they're doing all of this to create this conspiracy mindset in the public for more interest, which is definitely a possibility, and I've thought about that. I think they're hiding something, folks. I think they're hiding something, and I don't know what it is, but I want to know, and I know you want to know too. So we're going to keep looking. We're going to keep looking, and we're going to do our best to figure out what the hell is going on with this thing. Look at this. We don't have a good census of the population of interstellar objects, including any traffic of technological objects through the inner solar system. Our state-of-the-art survey telescopes, such as the Pan-STARRS, Atlas, or Rubin, can only detect reflection of sunlight from objects that are larger than 100 meters in diameter, roughly the size of a football field, within a distance comparable to the Earth-Sun separation. This diameter is an order of magnitude bigger than the largest spacecraft that humanity launched so far. In addition, existing astronomical surveys would miss near-Earth objects that travel much faster than tens of kilometers per second, the typical speed of asteroids or comets. So in order to assess whether an interstellar object is an outlier that deserves a high rank on the Loeb classification scale, we need to know the probability distribution functions for its properties. Our assessment will be more reliable as the sample of interstellar objects get larger. The challenge is familiar for those who seek a partner from a small pool of dating candidates, as it is difficult to decide how exceptional any of the early dating candidates are until we sample a large number of them. Our interstellar dating pool might go beyond what science fiction writers imagine. Like Fermi's question, where is everybody, is often asked by lonely people. Our best advice to them is to engage in the search. 3i Atlas is still showing an anti-tail as it gets closer to Earth. And we are just a few days away now from its closest approach to Earth, which will be the 19th. There's some interesting images. The cosmic egg. These images were taken December 13th in Thailand. The field of view spans 7.72 million kilometers on a side at the distance of 3i Atlas from Earth, 271 million kilometers. The bottom three panels show the projected brightness map in false colors and black and white, respectively. The top panel shows a rotational gradient brightness map with a Larsen-Sakanyina filter. A prominent anti-tail, uncommon for comets, points in the direction of the sun towards the lower left image. You can see that here. Very interesting. Also, 3i Atlas did turn green a few days ago. So it's gone blue. It's gone from red, blue, green, blue, green. This image was taken November 26th by the Gemini Multi-Object Spectrograph in Hawaii, an observatory funded by the U.S. National Science Foundation and operated by NSF's NOIR lab. This image is composed of exposures taken through 4 filters: blue, green, orange, and red. The exposures were centered on 3i Atlas, while the background stars appear as streaks. The teardrop shape of the green glowing halo around 3i Atlas featured an anti-tail in the direction of the sun, towards the lower left. Check that out. So cool. Yeah, so this is Greg. Greg, this is actually just a little bit about Greg even. There's much more. But Greg is the program manager for the Huntsville, Alabama L5 Society High Altitude Liftoff Program. Hello. And is president of the High Altitude Research Corporation. In these capacities, Mr. Allison is actively developing cheap access to space technologies. Mr. Allison has worked on the International Space Station program for Grumman as a systems engineer specializing in robotics, for the Mevitech Corporation as an electrical power systems integration engineer, and for Teledyne Brown Engineering as a payload integration engineer for external space station experiments. Mr. Allison is currently working for Hernandez Engineering. This bio is a bit old, so I don't know if he's actually still working for Hernandez Engineering or not, but as a safety and product assurance engineer on such projects as orbital space plane, X-37, high-techs. Mr. Allison also studies means to defend Earth from asteroids and the construction of large-scale space stations. Mr. Allison has served NSS most recently as executive vice president and in many other capacities over the past 20 years. Director for NSS, assistant treasurer for the NSS Executive Committee, chairman of the highly successful 1993 International Space Development Conference, co-chairman of the NSS National Phone Tree, president of the Huntsville, Alabama L5 Society, and participant in the NSS Policy Committee. That's just a few things about Greg. So when Greg talks, I listen. And I love reading the comments in the comment section where people are like, it's just a comet. Shut up, man. What are you going to do when it goes past? What are you going to talk about after that, sucker? And I'm like, really? I just kind of laugh because I'm not just speculating, folks. And when I do speculate, I let you know that I'm speculating. But I don't know what this thing is. But it's fascinating. Whatever this is fascinating. And people a lot smarter than me and a lot smarter than most people that leave those stupid comments in chat are questioning the narrative. So once again, why don't we question what they aren't telling us as well as what they are? Why did the Maven spacecraft lose connection with NASA after imaging 3I Atlas? Why is the International Asteroid Warning Network activated? Why has the European Union activated a planetary defense system in reference to 3I Atlas? Now, doesn't mean it's a threat, but what are they observing? And why do we not get the high resolution images weeks after the government opens back up? We were supposed to get them when the government opened back up, but what we got was a fuzzy image and people at NASA that were talking to us like we were children with the fuzzy wuzzy lines. Yes, this over here, this image here, see those lines? We call those fuzzy wuzzy lines. Yes. Yes, we get $23 billion a year for funding. What do you think about that? Anyway, so thank you for watching. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to be speaking with Jimmy Blanchette tonight, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, live, Leak Project, YouTube. Check it out. Just join us for the live feed. Jimmy has a 100,000 watt antenna system, stronger than most radio stations, and he has actually sent signals to 3I Atlas. Yeah, so he's going to tell you the updates on that, and we've got some pretty cool stuff here on Leak Project for you. Have a beautiful day. Hit the bell. Be well. Be excellent to each other. Question everything, and be the change you want to see.